is nonverbal. So it is, natural for us to think that verbal communication possibly has more advantages than that of the nonverbal communication. But what I am going to do in this course of my presentation is to show you how nonverbal communication also becomes significant and how they are more advantageous than the verbal ones. So first, let me talk about the genesis of nonverbal communication. Where does this, this idea of nonverbal communication actually come from? Scientific research on nonverbal communication and behavior goes back to Charles Darwin and the publication of his book. This is called The Expression of the Emotions in Man and Animals. You can see it on the screen. And this was published in 1872. And, Darwin had argued that all mammals, whether animals or human beings, they show emotions, they exhibit emotions through facial expressions. So for Darwin, facial expressions have acquired a very significant communicative value throughout evolutionary history. See, he says, why do we wrinkle our nose when we are disgusted or bare our teeth when we are enraged? So, wrinkling the nose and showing the teeth are two very common facial expressions, and they only exhibit the emotions that we feel within, the emotions that we feel inside. And he also says, why do our facial expression of emotions take the particular forms they do? So it is emotions which is externalized through certain facial expressions. Now, after Darwin, from 1872, there was quite a silence in the field of nonverbal communication. In fact, it is not before 1920s when behaviorism as a theory became prominent that nonverbal communication was much into the limelight. Now, what is behaviorism? To put it in a very, very, very simple terms, it is a theory of learning where, the behavior of the people, of any person, the person acquires certain behavior through certain conditioning. Okay, and there are variables in this conditioning. Now, it is only the 1960s that we find several researches on non-verbal communication, and such researches, they rocket sky high during this period, because you have psychologists, you have anthropologists, you have linguists who engage themselves to decipher the various modes of nonverbal communication. And they do it not only in one or two fields, but in a wide range of fields, starting from cinema, linguistics, mass media, politics, it can be education, technology, clinical science, philosophy, advertising, and many more. So it was a wide range of, experiments going on, the significance of nonverbal communication and what could be the strategies of nonverbal communication. These particular slide then takes us to the modes, the strategies, the cues of nonverbal communication with which we are more concerned. I'll tell you that, there is basically no homogeneous, no uniform consensus on the number or types of nonverbal communication. Theorists have offered multiple such modes. For example, if you turn to the 1970s, you have Barker and Collins, who spoke of 18 different modes of nonverbal communication. Koch in 1975, he talks of 13, such strategies. Cook, he spoke of two main varieties, two broad categories of nonverbal communication. One is static nonverbal communication, the other is dynamic. And from here, he talks of a plethora of, subcategories. So what I have, tried to do in this presentation is to try and follow, a few nonverbal codes, communication codes, which most of the theorists have agreed upon. I would focus on the 7 modes, which is specially developed by the theorist Mark Knapp, who was the emeritus professor in the University of Texas, Austin. And he became internationally known for his path-breaking research on nonverbal communication. And the book that he published is called Nonverbal Communication in Human Interaction. So it is here that Knapp basically explains what could be the most prominent and most visible nonverbal communications. These are kinesic, proxemic, paralanguage, haptics, environmental factors, artifacts, and physical characteristics. So what I will do, I'll take up each and one of them, and I will try to throw some light on them. So the first being kinesic. The kinesic is the study of the body movements, okay, and the facial and the facial expressions, the expressions of the eye and the body behavior, what is known as body language. I have used, you can see the four clip arts in this particular slide, and if you go to left top, you will see the teacher in a very, very cool posture, his hands inside his pockets, and in a very, very cordial, there's an expression of cordiality on his face, an amiability on his face. Top right, yes, this female teacher, you can see by the gesture of her hands that she's very excited, possibly trying to motivate her students and sharing, some kind of an achievement. Down left, yes, this is a very, very an expression of tremendous anger or maybe disgust or bitterness, and you can see also the body language of the teacher, which has, the body has curved because she is possibly shrieking and screaming at her students. And then, of course, bottom right, you have the all-disciplined, serious teacher who is the man of business and the teacher of business, and he is possibly talking of regimentation. Now, these are facial and body movements that most of us as teachers exhibit in the classroom without even being conscious of it. So this is something very naturally, we do something very naturally. So without even developing it as a science or as a particular code. Now, being a teacher of English literature, I cannot help but quote a little from Shakespeare. This is from Troilus and Cressida, and this is what Ulysses says: fie upon her. There is language in her eyes, her cheek and lip, nay, her foot speaks. So you can see how Shakespeare could imagine the entire body being a language in itself, right? So it becomes a mode of expression in itself. So if the body does not always need language to express itself, words or speech, but it can itself be a reflection of a language of a discourse. Now let us see what are the kinesics that we can use in the classroom and why are they used. First, yes, lesson delivery and class management, because I think this is the prime role of kinesic, to make the lesson more effective, more effectual, and to manage the entire class. The second is eye contact between the teacher and the students. I think this is something very, very important in order to build this, a relationship of familiarity, a relationship of trust and dependence with the students. So you have to look into the eyes of the student. And then differences among cultures to be respected, yes, because a class contains a student population who might come from different cultural backgrounds. The teacher might also come from a completely different cultural background. And the teacher, I don't think can really show preference through her or through his body language over any one particular culture and neglect for another culture. And this is not really expected of a teacher. In fact, the expressions of the teacher cannot breed discrimination. So the expressions of a teacher is, it is expected that they would only express equality and acceptance. Then use of gestures to make a classroom affiliative. I think This is very important because when you are addressing the first year, say the first semester students or the first year students who are new to the freshers, who are new to your class, so they need to have a sense of belonging with the class because this classroom space is completely new to them. And then what as a teacher is your role in this particular situation? Teachers can welcome them with open arms. Okay, so trying to make them affiliated to the class, trying to make them feel that this is an environment which is like your family, or the teacher might, just use closed arms, which I suppose will reflect the non-familiarity of the classroom. It will only reflect the non-familiarity of the classroom to the students and would make them rather shrink in disapproval. So, it is very important to make the students feel that they belong, they feel affiliated to a particular classroom space. The head motion shows involvement. Yes, that is again very significant because a nod is always an affirmation, okay, of anything. So a teacher nodding shows that a teacher is affirmative of something, whereas a swing of the head from side to side definitely reflects censure. It reflects disapproval. And the smiles reflecting interpersonal warmth. This is a very, once again, something we all practice in classrooms. And again, practice unconsciously. We keep on smiling at the students and not frowning at them. Okay, frowning can basically detach them from us, whereas smiles can bring them together and create a relationship of amiability. And high levels of gaze to grasp attention. This, I think, is very important because in a class of more than 100 students, where it is really difficult for the teacher to, hold the attention of the students, this is a real challenge. And this challenge can be met with certain non-verbal communication skills. For example, I can share this with you, like in this UGC CBCS syllabus, which is where you have compulsory English. This is language core course for semester 1 and 2, and I'm coming from the English background, so I'm an English teacher, and the first thing that I have to face is a huge student population in the class belonging to all the three streams: arts, science, and commerce. And so when I enter the class, the moment I step into the class, I can see a huge pandemonium going into the class. And the only way I tackle them is to walk in the class and then stand still for a moment and just cast a long penetrating gaze at the students. I have seen that this work wonders because gradually I can see the class settling down and becoming disciplined. I'm sure most of you have also experienced this while taking your classes. So this gaze is very important to grasp the attention of the students. From here, we would go into proxemic. Proxemic is again a very significant tool or a strategy used by teachers in the classroom, because it is actually management of the space, the personal as well as the social space. If you look into this diagram, the kind of a picture that I have tried to incorporate here, it shows the various levels of space that centers around an individual. So from 0 to 50 centimeter, it is the intimate space that an individual shares with another. From the personal space is from 0.5 to 1 meter. The social space is again between 1 and 4 meter. And then after 4 meter, anything beyond 4 meter is the public space. So proxemics can be divided into 3 important components. One is space, one is distance, the other is territory. Now, what is a space? I mean, if we have to define space, I think we have to say that it is an area with invisible boundaries, around a person's body, and these boundaries we cannot see, but the person who stands there can feel and can exercise his concept of space. So the concept of space is defined by the individual himself. Okay. And as I said, that these are of the space. If you look at space only, it is again divided into 3 subcategories. It can be fixed, semi-fixed, and informal space. Now, what is fixed space? It is the fixed feature space is something, a space that is occupied permanently. Okay, so it is a kind of a fixed, static, stagnant kind of a space. For example, it can be cities, it can be buildings, or even classrooms. So they stand at one place. Okay, and if such space is ever altered, usually people react to it. For example, we teachers are very, very possessive about our departmental rooms. And if the principal ever tries to, interchange rooms between departments, the most obvious consequence is possibly a disagreement and then a bitter fight with the principal, because the teachers feel that it is the departmental room is a space that they possess, that they inherit, and they don't want to share it with any other department. And the same, I think, happens with the students. Similarly, there can be another example of a teacher who is trying to leave his city or her city in pursuit of his career. He or she might go to another city. So this displacement, creates some kind of bitterness, some kind of discomfort within him, and that will bring out certain drastic reactions, within his personality, within his identity. So fixed space is something that is rooted, and any attempt to change it will always bring some kind of a reaction from the individual, because the individual feels rooted and belonged to that particular space. We come to the semi-fixed space. The term itself is explanatory. It means a space which is not permanently fixed, but a space that can be altered if need be. This is very important, in interpersonal relationships. And this semi-fixed space, it can be again subdivided into sociopetal and sociofugal. Sociopetal space, it involves, or rather breeds involvement. Okay, whereas sociofugal, it breeds distance. It breeds, to say, some kind of a withdrawal. Now, the example of sociofugal space would possibly be large, cold classrooms. If you think of your gallery rooms, gallery classrooms where you have a huge number of students occupying the class, it is not possible to, offer one-to-one interaction or one-to-one attention in a class like that. Whereas sociopetal space would possibly be, the space occupied by the faculty. So the faculty room, where you can always, the student can sit across the table and discuss his or her dissertation or PhD thesis. So that gives a sense of comfort, coziness, a kind of sharing, which sociofugal rooms, of course, do not. So that is the way you can describe semi-fixed space. And then comes informal space, which is basically the distance that people unconsciously maintain when they interact. Like when you are walking on the street, you try to maintain a distance with the next person. I'm not talking of social distancing as in the pandemic era, but generally, even when we are walking on the street, someone just pushing you and jostling you and trying to invade your space makes you feel uncomfortable. And similarly, in the classroom, when a teacher is, interacting with a student, so a kind of space is left empty in between. And that is a very normal space, that is the informal space that is between the teacher and the student. And this brings us to the second component of proxemics, which is distance. And distance, it is measured. Distance can be measured, and it can be measured in terms of how far an individual is from another. So a student and a teacher standing and maybe having a serious discussion. So the distance can be measured. And by measuring the distance, the relationship between the teacher and the student possibly can be asserted. So you can understand this distance. How far distance will I keep with my teacher is again relational. So how far distance will I keep with my student is again a very, very relational and a very subjective concept. And it also varies, with different social interactions. So now both the teacher and the student, they need to be sensitive about the distance, and especially I'll come to this later when I'm talking about the Indian context. Distance becomes a very significant context because both the person, the subject position of the teacher and the subject position of the student, they both are immensely sensitive to this distance that they maintain. This brings us to the final, category of or component of proxemics, that is territory. The territory is an area which is controlled and defended by an individual or a group of individuals. For instance, a student may occupy a particular desk and in the classroom, and he may not like to exchange his particular desk with someone else, with another student. The same is true for the teachers. The teachers may have a particular corner of the staff room or the library and may not like to share it with his or her colleague. So it is the fact that this space belongs to me. It is my territory. So it's a territorialized space that gives you control over that space. Okay. Now, what I would also like to mention here, that I've spoken about the various components of space and the subcategories, but it is important for us to know that spaces can be converted. They can be translated. So it's not that a space remains a fixed and a static space forever. So there is a chance of converting it. And especially when you turn to classrooms, the teacher has the ability to convert the space from maybe a distant space to a very, very sociopatal space. Okay, so let me explain this to you with a clip from a video. This is again from a very, very well-known film. Just a second. Yes, this is from Tare Zameen Par. So let's just watch this clip.
दोस्तों, आज मैं तुम लोगों को एक कहानी सुनाऊंगा। एक लड़के की कहानी। एक लड़का था, मत पूछो किधर। वो पढ़ लिख नहीं पाता था। लाख कोशिशों बाद उसको रहता ना था याद कि y के बाद आता था। अल्फाज उसके दुश्मन उसकी आंखों के सामने नाचते थे। डांस कर करके जी भर भर के बेचारे को सताते थे। लिखना पढ़ना थका देता उसको, टुकड़े अपने सुनाता वो उसको। हिजरा फुल था, स्टार्टर फुल था, ऊपर से एबीसी डिस्को।
Just see how Amir Khan, who is Nikum and a drawing teacher here, how he is converting the space of the teacher, extending the space of the teacher to the space of the students. See, he is now walking between the rows and communicating with the students with all his gestures, with all his facial expressions, as well as language. Let's continue.
फेल हो गया एक दिन बेचारा, पढ़ने लिखने के बोझ का मारा। लोगों ने उसे गधा बेवकूफ कहा। बच्चे ने सारा अपमान बहादुरी से सहा। फिर एक सवेरे उसने सोना उगला। तेरी जो सुनी जान है सारा जहां पिघली। बोलो बोलो कौन है वो?
Albert Einstein.
करेक्ट राज, एल्बर्ट आइंस्टाइन, जीनियस, महान साइंटिस्ट, जिसने दुनिया को अपनी थ्योरी ऑफ रिलेटिविटी से हिला के रखा। द ब्राउनियन मोशन, द फोटोइलेक्ट्रिक इफेक्ट, फॉर व्हिच ही वाज अवार्डेड द नोबेल प्राइज in 1921. ईशान, लाइक ऑन करना।
Okay, so what I was trying to explain to you here, see, the classroom space is divided by the desk of the teacher. Okay, so that makes a very neat and a very clear-cut division in the classroom. What Nikum, who is the drawing teacher in Tare Zameen Par, does, he challenges the fixity of this space. and he makes the space fluid because he is constantly altering between the teacher's space and the student space, and therefore blending the two, merging the two. Also, what is important for you to understand is how Nikum, he is drawing the blackboard. He's shifting the blackboard. And this shifting of the blackboard is, again, a challenge to the fixed features within the classroom, because the blackboard is not supposed to be moved here and there. It usually occupies a static position, a stagnant position. But just by the movement of the blackboard, he is trying to challenge anything that is stagnant in the classroom. Okay, so you see, he's asking the student to walk up and switch on the light. So making the classroom space, as I said, more fluid, and that is, and by doing that, the entire classroom acquires a kind of a language. So it is as if the entire space of the classroom is a form of communication, right, both to the student and to the teachers. So, so this takes us to the, well, yes, to the next slide, and this is on paralanguage. We were talking about how classroom space could assume a form of language. So now let us talk about what is paralanguage. Now, paralanguage is another mode of a non-verbal communication, which is more than language. It is not restricted by words, restricted by speech. It has a number of variables. They are voice volume, so the volume of the voice in which the teacher is speaking, whether it is loud or it is soft. It is the pitch of the volume. It is tempo and intensity. Silence and pauses are, again, very, very significant, tools of nonverbal communication skills. But then again, I would like to mention here that silence should be dealt with a certain depth. I mean, the teacher should be skillful enough to deal with silence, because sometimes long silences, prolonged silences, can breed a kind of animosity in the class. It might reflect the disinterest of the teachers, indifference of the teachers. Also, there are pauses. There are intruding sounds. We as teachers make a number of sounds, when we are taking the class. It can be aha, or maybe oh-ho, or maybe just a sound like. So, these sounds also become a part of the non-verbal communication. And of course, the speech errors. We continually keep on, rectifying our speeches and refashioning them, redesigning them. So we speak paralanguage when we gasp, we sigh, we clear our throats. So it can be, so that is also reflecting something. Change our tone, whisper or shout, frown or smile, laugh or cry, speak fast or speak slow. So a teacher who is possibly speaking fast, I usually speak very fast, so possibly has a number of things to communicate, or maybe is anxious and therefore speaking fast, or if a speaker or the teacher is speaking very slow, then sometimes the class can also become very, very boring. So with this, we go to the next slide, and this is haptics, which is once again a very significant form of non-verbal communication strategy. It is the study of interaction by touching. So if you look at the clip arts that I have tried to incorporate on this particular slide, extreme top left, you have a handshake, which is possibly, which helps the student to feel confident, make the student feel closer to the teacher. Okay, and then the top right, a tap on the shoulder of the student can make the teacher help the student feel that he has done something good. So a kind of acknowledging the skill of the student, the the performance of the student, and again making the student feel confident. And a very common, I think, touch is the teacher touching the head of the students, especially in junior classes, junior schools. And it is because it is a reflection of the teacher's affection towards the student. But you have to remember that the same touch, touching the head of the student, is possibly discouraged in college, because they are college going students are no longer youngsters or no longer kids, and therefore they have a particular space. Again, you come to the question of space that they don't want to share with the teacher. So they don't want to share such personal space with the teacher. Again, sometimes a student who is lacking attention, so which is called attention deficit disorder, this attention deficit can be brought back just by a gentle tap on the shoulder. Okay. Now, various so this touch, this concept of touch, it varies among different cultural groups and especially gender. So if the student is a male student, and there is a difference, and the teacher is a male teacher, so there is a particular space that both of them share and how far they can come close to each other. And the opposite is, of course, for the opposite gender. Such a touch, such affection, which is expressed through touch, it helps to build a kind of cohesion in the class, a kind of engagement in the classroom environment. And but you have to remember also at the same time that haptics can also cause physical pain. And this kind of haptics where touch becomes aggressive, when touch becomes aggressive, it is no longer expressing affection, rather it is expressing, it becomes bashing, thrashing, or even hitting the student. This should be discouraged. This cannot be, though this is a form of haptics, but this has to be discouraged so far as teacher-student relationship is concerned. And you can see in both the pictures, left and right down, how the teacher can, exercise control over the body of the students and, just be a little aggressive to the students. So what is important for us to understand is it is haptics that creates a kind of cordiality in the classroom setting, helping the students to perform better. Now, this is where I would like to share my screen, but you have to bear with me a little, because this is, I'll show you again a clip from a film called Chalk and Duster. This was a 2019 release, but I have not been able to incorporate it within my, PPT. So I will have to show it from the YouTube with you. So I will stop sharing my screen here. And I will try to, just a second. Yes. Let me try and see if I can show you a part of the film.
Mitali, this touch is very, very important, and I get results from, though I teach MSc and scholars, I have PhD scholars, and I feel that my touch gives a very good result with my scholars.
Actually, it does. Actually, it does. And thank you for, making this comment. That makes the class, or whatever you call it. See, I keep on telling that this is a class, which I know it is not, but that makes it more vibrant. So let me see if I can share my screen. Can you all see the screen of the film? Is it visible to everyone?
Visible. Yes.
So let me just play it now.
बोल सोना चांदी तोल ओके तो वो है पंडित बद्री प्रसाद हरी बोल सोना चांदी तोल बी फॉर बद्री बी फॉर H for Hari, H for... That's right. Sona, Chandi, Tol. Sari, P over B. अब इसको अपने नोटबुक पे करो। Sit down. Vidya ma'am. आपको शर्म आनी चाहिए। आप बच्चों से सो रही थी। मैं सो नहीं रही थी। मैंने नोट्स बच्चे कॉपी कर रहे थे। अच्छा, आपने चेक किया कि वो कॉपी कर रहे हैं? यस, प्लीज समझिए। मैं चेक करती हूँ। आप चेक नहीं कर रही थी, आप सो रही थी। मैं सो नहीं रही थी। Why you creating a scene? I am creating a scene. This is the way you talk to your supervisor. Can't just go on. देखिए ना मैम, ये बच्चों की सीट पर सो रही थी। मैंने एक्सप्लेनेशन तैयार क्यों करी? मैं आर्ग्यू नहीं कर रही थी, मैं बस मेरे साथ आर्ग्यू कर रही हूँ। मैं आर्ग्यू नहीं कर रही हूँ, मैं सिर्फ बता रही थी क्या हुआ। दरअसल मेरी तबीयत ठीक नहीं। मुझे बुखार है और मैं ठीक से नहीं खा रही हूँ, घर बैठी थी। स्कूल आने के लिए क्यों लगाया? ब्लैकबोर्ड पर कुछ सवाल दिए थे। अब बच्चे उससे नोट कर रहे हैं या कार्टून्स बना रहे हैं, आपको क्या पता? एक्सक्यूज मी, क्लास में पढ़ाई के समय बच्चे से पढ़ते हैं, कार्टून नहीं बनाते। गुड मॉर्निंग। Let's have surprise. How many you know about लेकिन ये तो पहला लेक्चर बस 3 हाथ। You what's your name? Rohan. Come here. Explain trigonometry. Come on. बद्री प्रसाद हरी हरी बोल सोना चांदी तोड़। Padri, Prasad, Hari, Bol, Sota, Shanti, Bol.
Well, this is where I intend to stop sharing. Just a second, let me go back to my presentation. Yes. Did you, there was, I think, some disturbance in the sound.
Yes, Mitali, the sound is disturbing a bit. You just, we have to see the scenes. In your own words, you just...
Yeah, I will explain it. I will explain it Purva, right now. Just let me go back to my presentation and then I'll definitely. The name of the film is Chalk and Duster. I hope you can see my screen, everybody. The presentation.
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, fine. Just let me explain this. This is a 2019 film where you can see Shabana Azmi. She is the mathematics teacher in the school, and when she is teaching a formula of trigonometry, she is using possibly a kind of a mantra or a jingle, as you can say, to help the students learn it faster. One of the students was not much attentive in the class, but when she is teaching, I'm sure she can notice it. And when she asked the students to copy down the formula from the board, as she's walking, again, you see another example of how she is translating the teacher bound space to and extending it to the student's space. As she's walking between the rows, she touches the hair of the student very fondly. Okay, and then the principal of the school comes, and she, in order to, she's actually, there is an animosity between the maths teacher and the principal ma'am, and so she tries to bully this teacher a bit, and therefore asks the student to explain trigonometry. And the student, of course, since he was not much attentive in the class, he has forgotten it. But you can see him, closing his eyes. And the moment he closes his eyes, the first thing that he remembers is the fond touch of the teacher on his hair, and that helps him to remember the formula. Now, this might seem a little of an exaggeration, but what is significant, what I want to assert here is that this is how nonverbal communication skill works. It creates an environment of references in the mind of the student, and thus help the students to relate with what is being taught. Right. So this is how, again, the haptics work in this particular film. We go to the next important strategy, which is environmental factors, and that refers to to physical attributes of a setting and proper use of the setting. Some educators even say that a classroom should have big windows and they should be closed. Why should they be closed? So that the students don't get distracted. Again, other educators say that closing the window would mean making the space of the classroom claustrophobic and imposing some kind of a restriction on the students. So they should be opened. So such views do vary. And so institutional design, classroom architecture, illumination, brightness in the classroom, furniture arrangement, these are all part of non-verbal communication skill. And therefore, you can talk, we all know of Shantiniketan, Tagore's Shantiniketan and Vishwabharati, and how Tagore intended, to make the seat of learning under the open sky, under the shade of the trees, thus, trying to make a connection between learning and environment or nature. The two other factors, I have clubbed them, artifacts and physical characteristics. Artifacts basically refer to the clothing and the accessories, what color of dress the teacher is wearing. So if it's a bright color dress, it might imbibe positivity in the classroom. And if the color is drab, then the class might feel some kind of a monotony or boredom. Similarly, physical characteristics, the height of the teacher, the weight of the teacher, whether he's thin or he's fat, and the skin color of the teacher. But let me tell you that theorists also are of the opinion that these two characteristics, these two strategies, are not really whether they're actually related to, linked with the efficacy of classroom teaching is a huge question. Okay, so that is an empirical question. So that cannot be ascertained. Okay. So what I have done so far is that I have discussed the various modes, strategies of nonverbal communication, and what they really mean, when they are set against a classroom setting. But now let me talk about the practical experience. Like we as Indian teachers, what do we feel when we enter the classroom? So let us talk about the Indian context. And non-verbal, communication in Indian classrooms are dependent on three factors: culture, gender, and discourse. Culture, yes, because see, if you look at India, Indian culture is collectivist in nature, and so are our classrooms, where teachers and students come from different, I have already said that, from different cultural backgrounds. And this is where, the teacher has to be very conscious of the non-verbal communication that he or she is making, because it is important for the teacher to learn and develop, culture codes, which students from other cultures can also respond to. This is where I would like to share an experience with you. This is possibly 3-4 years back. Like my college, is in Birati, in a place called Birati in Kolkata. And just next to my college is a girls' school. And my departmental room is very close to the prayer room of the school. So every Wednesday, I used to have a 10:15 class. And every time I, used to go and take that class, around 10:45, 10:50, the prayer would start for the girls in the school. And that would be the national anthem. So naturally, we would all stand up. And after the anthem is over, then we sit down and again continue with the class. 3-4 years back, on one such Wednesday morning, when the anthem started, we all stood up, and I noticed that there was one girl in the class, and this is the first semester, so the first year class. So they were new to the class. I could see one student who was a little hesitant to stand up. And then I realized that she is a girl from Bangladesh who had come, to study in Kolkata, in India. So a foreign student for us. And then she stood up, of course, naturally she stood up. So when the anthem was over, we all sat down. And then I looked at her and I said, would you mind singing your national anthem? She was a bit embarrassed first. And then she stood up and started singing it. And the wonders of Rabindranath Tagore, I don't have to mention it here. The moment she started singing it while standing, I stood up. And when I stood up, my entire class, they also stood up. So, this is how I think we can achieve a cultural cohesion within the classroom premises, right? Within the premises of the classroom. And, this also develops a kind of intercultural competence, intercultural, communication. Then we go to gender. Yes, we cannot forget that after all, India is a patriarchal society, and gender differentiation here is extremely acute. So when you look at the classroom, it is, it's a gendered terrain. Okay, you cannot avoid saying that because if you look at body language, the body language of a female teacher is invariably different from the body language of a male teacher. It is said that female teachers tend to express more through their smiles, through their eye contact, through their gestures, through their touch, and also related to this, I think, is age and experience. This is where, haptics become very significant because as you saw in this particular film, Chalk and Duster, the teacher touching the head of the of a school going boy. I don't think this is possible when the boy is in the university, or maybe you have to think twice before you do it. Okay, and the next is discourse. Now, discourse or linguistic discourse, it's that's I think non-verbal behavior is discourse dependent, especially when it is a foreign language class. I mean, we as English teachers face it very often. To make the class feel more comfortable, at ease with a language which is foreign to them, the teacher often has to use signs and symbols, and where the entire body language of the teacher becomes, very helpful to make the language comprehensible. Now, let us talk about the online classes that we are all, engaged with right now in the pandemic era. What about the nonverbal communication in online classes where we can hardly see the teacher? I think nonverbal communication becomes a complete challenge in such online delivery format because they are less interactive, and since they are less interactive, the entire question of nonverbal communication becomes redundant. However, the teachers can always make use of new technologies, can make use of new apps that help them to design the online course material, and with features of nonverbal communication, they can possibly intersperse certain videos or maybe certain audios which will make the virtual classroom more interactive. Or let me tell you something, like, why do we use emojis? Have you ever thought of it? Why do we use emojis? I think emojis are verbal counterparts of non-verbal communication. So if I'm angry, I put that red circular emoji face showing that I'm angry. As I said, the teachers can supplement their virtual classes with, or complement their virtual classes with videos and also feedback forms. That can also be very important because that will make the students realize that the teachers are constantly participating in their discussion in their classes. So what I intend to tell you is that, nonverbal signs have changed its format in online classes, in virtual learning. And we as teachers need to accommodate ourselves with this change and devise new tools, new signals to reach out to our students. I would still say that this is a virgin domain where much innovation, much experimentation is required, and you as listeners can be one of those taking up the leads, playing a pioneer role. So this is how I would like to end my presentation, telling you that verbal and non-verbal communication skills, they actually complement each other, and if they complement each other in the perfect way, it is only then that the classrooms become very engaging and very responsive. So I would suggest that let us keep on acquiring this non-verbal skills, both verbal and non-verbal skills. Let us keep on developing these skills so that we can ensure a better teaching experience. Thank you, and that too with a smiley, which is again a non-verbal way of expressing my thanks to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mitali. Thank you so much. Do you have any questions, anybody? One particular thing that I just wanted to share with the audience as well as Mitali, you as well, that initially when we started with the online classes, this physical touch or this physical thing was absent because the kind of way we are accustomed to taking classes. So just a few days back, I was actually correcting. I do teach a lot of statistics, as you know. So in the classes, generally, I give my students a lot of things to do, sums to do, and that kind of encouragement, it was actually absent in the kind of this kind of a Google Classroom thing. But then I decided that somebody who has done the sum in a correct manner, then maybe I could just give a smiley or some kind of a star. Like, for for small children like we give. So that I saw that one day I had given, next day the students were saying that, Madam, I have also done it correctly. Why have you not given me a star, or why have you not given me a smiley face? Huh? So I thought that, okay, this is good. So again, the kind of thing that I learned in this Google Classroom thing, I just shared my experience. Thank you so much, Mitali. It was such a nice, engrossing thing, and it I am sure has touched everybody present here, because we are all mostly teacher, and even if somebody is not a teacher, they are in the process of becoming the teachers. Some of the very senior scholars are here. So thank you so much, Pubalidi, my
Thank
HOD.
you. Thank you very much, Mitali. And these are small things that we can do, and we can encourage our students. And it gives, in the video also, it is, I liked the videos, and I think I do it in the class regularly, and I get the results. A small touch, and what Purva said, smiley, thank you. They give results from students.
Actually, these little improvisations can make our class really interactive. Though we are, like we are still in the process of being habituated to this blended form of learning, but still, I think such, additions in the class, in such complementary, like as you said, the smileys and just a feedback form and just a star or so, that can also, encourage the students a lot and make our classroom experience a better one.
Thank you so much, Mitali, for being with us. So we actually hope to hear from you in a normal setup, not in this new normal setup. So it would be much more interactive then. And I see the chat box. Many of our participants, they have just congratulated you and enjoyed your way of presentation and your way of talking. So thank you so much for being with us.
Okay, thank you so much, Purva, and I would also look forward to, being with you people again and again. So thank you, and warm wishes to all of you for attending not only this particular lecture, but attending the entire, course that the Home Science Department has organized for you. So thank you very much.
So today our session comes to an end. Again, we will meet tomorrow at 10:45. The schedule will be again posted. So thank you all.
Thank you.